Today we're going to go over a basic 4-tier equity waterfall model. I'm going to go step by step and show you how to build a very basic and simple but very useful and powerful tool that you can plug into your real estate financial models. So before I get started here, please go to the post, which is linked down here in the description if you're on YouTube, or if you came here through our website, adventuresancre.com. You can either scroll down to the bottom and download the template as well, and you can also download the completed model, both to use and to check when you check against your formulas as you're going through with the video. All right, so let's begin. As you see in your download and also on the video here, I've started with both the project total cash flow and just the periodic cash flows as well. And they're hard-coded now, but these can come in and should come in from your model. So if you're actually tying this to one of your working models, just make sure to link your levered cash flows to this row and link your total equity out to this project cell here, which is F9. Actually, let me widen my screen a little bit so you can see this side angle, the numbers on the left-hand side. Okay, so what you might have noticed is that there are a lot of negative cash flows, pretty much negative cash flows all the way up until period 4. So some of you might have guessed this is a model to be a development cash flow projection. And so something that I want to show you right off the bat is that this negative number is different. Actually, you know what? Let's up this, or yeah, 45 million. So this number below is different than your total cash outflow. And I want to point this out for development projects because sometimes you'll get a period, and we can assume this is period 5, where the equity partners actually have to pay some money, but then the project starts having positive cash flow, and so it offsets the negative income. And so, some people will run equity multiple formulas just using the levered cash flow line. So, most of the time that will work if it's just an acquisition. However, sometimes, especially in development projects, you may miss some negative cash outflow that happened with the partners if you run that formula through just the levered cash flow line. So I just wanted to point this out as an important piece when you're looking at development projects in particular. So you will sometimes have a total cash outflow that is actually different than what's being showed in the levered cash flow line. All right, so let's get started. I know we're 3 minutes in. I'm going to try and do this as succinct and as fast as possible, so I can wrap this up in a reasonable time, and I won't have you guys sitting here for a very long time trying to get through the model with me. So let's see how fast we can knock this out. All right, so the first thing is we have the equity split. We're going to do 90% to the LP, and then we are going to do 10% to the GP. And so it's a very basic formula, just really 1 minus percentage. That way, as you're going forward, you can just change the LP line, and the GP will change accordingly. And just so you know, just very basic, all the manual inputs are in blue, and anything that's linked offline actually should be in or on another sheet. I would say to change to green. So actually, let's change these to green while we're doing this, just to mimic the fact that this, even though we are hard-coded here, it should be coming in from another tab in your model. All right, so right off the bat, project cash outflow, we have 90% to the LP. Oop, need to lock that. And when you want to lock in cells, hit F4 if you're new to Excel. I do Control C, Alt H V O, and this keeps all my format intact. So here we have the LP at 90% and the GP at 10%. All right, so the next step is dialing in Tier 1. So in Tier 1, we want our partners sharing the profits pari passu up until a 1.25 equity multiple. So up until the partners receive their capital back, which is a 1 equity multiple, plus 25% of the capital they put in, which is the 2.5. So they want 1.25x equity multiple in the first tier. All right, so a really great and simple way to do this is, I like to solve for the equity multiple before I actually model any cash flows out. So I've created this box right above tier 1 that says profit to hit hurdle. And so the way we can do this, it's very simple. If you haven't already figured it out. So it's basically equals beginning parentheses negative F9 or negative total project costs times the equity multiple plus F9. So what this is saying is that we need, in addition to getting our $45 million back, we need $11,250,000 of additional profit for the partners to hit a 1.25 equity multiple. And so I want to stop here real quick before moving forward and just check out all the mechanics and the mechanical things that we've built in this model. We're modeling out a specific scenario, but we can change around the blue input so far, and everything should move accordingly. There's nothing technical here at all. So as you can see, we now have a 1.0 equity multiple, which you can see now our profit is 0. We can have a 2 equity multiple, which you see our profit will now be just double what we put in, so we'd have to get our profit back plus $45 million. We can change around the LP contribution. You'll see that the GP's contribution will always react. So I just want to show you that before moving forward. All right, so let's build out the cash flow in tier 1. So we're going to use one formula, and we're just going to copy and paste it all the way down. So it's an if statement. So if cash flow in period 0 is less than 0, comma, then give us the cash flow in period 0. If it's not, if the cash flow is positive, then give us the minimum of the cash flow in period 0, or C35, or the profit to hit the hurdle. I'm going to lock this thing, so I don't want this to move as we copy and paste this formula down. I want all the formulas to keep this cell in place. So I hit F4. So I want the minimum of cash flow in period 0 or profits hit the hurdle less, and I'm going to do sum, and I'm going to reference the cell previous, or cell to the left of the cell that we're in now, and I'm leaving that blank, and I'm going to lock it in. And so the only reason to do that is because I can't start the formula in period 0, so I just need a space before, because otherwise it will be a circular reference. And so we want to try to avoid circular references. So it's C35 less the sum of the cash flow of the previous periods than the period that you're in presently. And so as we copy this down, I'm going to Control C, Shift Control together, my right arrow, let go of Control, keep Shift, hit the left arrow, and then Alt H V O. And as you'll see, I've locked in cell C35 and G38. And so this gives me my cash flow up until I hit a 1.25 equity multiple. And let's check this now. We can build out the equity multiple formula just to verify this is accurate. All right, so we have equals parentheses sum the cash flow here in tier 1 plus the negative total amount of equity contribution. Now this should in aggregate equal the 1.25, because what your cash flow is doing here in row 38 is you're paying out your cash flow, then you're getting your 1 multiple back in plus 25%. So in essence, this should be the 25% here, because your negative cash flow out, positive cash flow in, nets out, plus the remaining 25%. So that's this formula. That's the 25% plus the 1, which is your equity contribution, divided by the amount of equity contributed. And that will get you your 1.25x. All right, so let's quickly get the profit. It's basically a sum formula. And then let's split out the cash flow between the partners. So you can just watch my bar up here, which is H38, and this is for the LP. So we'll go to tier 1, and we know it's 90%. So hit F4 so we lock this in. Actually, hit F4 one more time, and then hit it one more time again. So what you're doing is you're only locking in the column, but you're not locking in the row. And while we're at it, go over to the H38, hit F4, and hit F4 one more time, because we want to lock in the row this time, row 38, but not the column. So we'll hit Enter, and we'll hit Control-C and Control-V. And I want to show you something real quick. This line that's in the middle here was copied down just by hitting Copy and Paste. So you want to keep the format. And so, as I said before, I'm going to hit Control-Z. So I'm still copied. I'm going to hit Alt-H-V-O, and that keeps my formatting the same. So now I'm going to highlight both. And so, by the way, why I copied that down, the formula that I built still locks in the cash flow, but now has moved down 1 from the LP to the GP, because now we're in the GP cash flow. So we're going to lock in the column, but we didn't lock in the row. And so you'll see now as we hit Control-C, hold Shift-Control, hit the right arrow, let go of Control, the left arrow again, Alt-H-V-O. And that'll have split, and you'll notice we're locked in up top here, but our partnership cash flow is following us along, and it's locked in the row. So as we copied down from LP to GP, that did not follow. Okay, so in the interest of time, I think I did a good amount of basic Excel tips within this model. So I'm just going to go through and explain the formulas, but not really give any more tips about how to model in Excel from here on out. So we'll try to get through the remainder as fast as possible. All right, so let's build out the rest of tier 1. So add the sum up, and then we'll have to change these formulas, which is fine. So we're going to come in here and hit F2. We'll just have to move this up to the LP. And then, all right. So the last piece you want to do is you want to have the remaining cash flow. Because these models are going to be dynamic, you want to make sure the formulas are throughout. All right, and so all we did in this row was a simple subtraction. So row 31 less row 38. All right, so that wraps up tier 1. And now we are going to move on to tier 2. All right, so for tier 2, let's begin. We're going to give the GP a 10% promote. So, everything above a 1.25 equity multiple, all the cash flow above that, the GP automatically gets 10% of all the profits above that, in addition to splitting the other profit, the remaining 90%, equal pari passu again. So still 90-10 of the remaining 90% of the profits. So 10% goes to the GP, and then of the 90%, they still get their 10%. Oops, so let's do our formula. So equals, do 1 minus the 10%, so that gives us the 90%, times 90, and we're going to lock in 10% number, so 81, and that would be 9, and that together will equal 100, and we want this profit split up until a 1.75 hurdle. All right, so we have our tier 2 inputs. All right, so now we're going to do the same thing we did for tier 2 that we did in tier 1. We're going to create the additional, this time it's the additional profit to hit the hurdle because we already have some profit that's come out in tier 1. So let's build this formula. So equals negative profit, so negative times, or negative, the negative of the negative is a positive, times our new hurdle rate plus, so plus the negative, so we're going to get rid of this, the equity contribution, less the profit that we already received in tier 1. So we need an additional, or there is an additional $22.5 million that could be distributed in tier 2 if the dollar amount is available to distribute. Okay, so if you notice here, we have 2 partnership level cash flows. One is just going to be the partnership tier 2 cash flow, and then we have our general partner promote below. All right, so our partnership tier 2 cash flows. First, we're going to solve for if this cash flow line already equals the tier 2 hurdle of 1.75. Let's make this row 0. So if the sum of the negative equity contribution, F4, comma, plus the cash flow prior to the current period divided by the negative the negative equity contribution equals our equity multiple, give us 0. If not, give us the minimum of the cash remaining for distribution after tier 1 times, now remember we have a promote, so 1 minus the promote or our remaining equity needed less the sum of the cash flows from the prior periods. All right, and sorry, a little video magic here. Actually, stop the video for a second because I wanted to update this formula. You'll notice it was different from the previous time you were looking at it on the screen because this is the same formula. I can just copy and paste it down into tier 3 to the same line. So I removed a couple dollar signs to enable this to be just an easy copy and paste down. You can look at the formula now to see what the changes were. You're still going to have to manually adjust a couple things, but it's set up properly at this point. All right, so that is the partnership tier 2 cash flow. And now let's do the GP tier 2 promote. This is a simple formula. So we have partnership cash flow divided by 1 minus, let's go back up to the promote, we'll lock this in to get us back to our full 100%, and we're going to times that, multiply that by the 10%. All right, and then we just simply copy and paste these down. And we should have our tier 2 promote and partnership cash flow. All right, so let's verify that we indeed hit our 1.75 equity multiple. So let's do again. We're going to capture our equity contribution. This time we're going to do a little bit simpler way. So we're going to just add what our total profit was plus the profit from tier 1 and just divide by the equity contribution. And there you see we have our 1.75x equity multiple for tier 2 satisfied. All right, so let's roll up our LP cash flow. We have the tier 2 cash flow times 90% plus LP's cash flow in tier 1. GP's cash flow is partnership cash flow times 10% plus GP cash flow in tier 1 plus the promote. And then we are simply going to copy this down. All right, and let's add up the cash flow. And let's copy our formula from up top here, and then we'll just make a couple minor adjustments. So we'll bring this back up. This is the LP. And, you know, we should lock these in for when we copy and paste this down next time. All right, so we'll see our LP is at 1.75. And our GP is at a 2.31 now with the promote. All right, so let's do the cash remaining, which is cash flow less cash flow in tier 1, less cash flow in tier 2. All right, so for the third tier, let's do some copying and pasting. First, I want to go through. I want to lock F38 in up here, so I'm going to hit F4. And we can lock F9 in because we know that that's been using it so much. We know it's the total equity contribution. And we don't need to lock in C18. We're going to have to move it, but just to keep it stationary, let's do that. All right, so let's Control C, Control V. We know we're in the third tier now, so we're going to pull this down to the tier 3 hurdle. And we know we need to add subtract one more piece of the cash flow. So this 22.5 million needs to come out so we can get our additional profit that's needed to hit our third hurdle. Oh, and I did something wrong here, so let's look real quick. Oh, that's right, I just didn't put in the hurdle rate yet. So this is right. Let's just keep going. We'll go up and we'll add the hurdle. So this hurdle is going to be 2.5x. Okay, and now this goes back to positive. So we need an additional $33.75 million to hit a 2.5x equity multiple. All right, so our GP promote tier 3, we're going to say 15%, and still the remaining profit is going to be split 90-10. So we'll do the formula again, equals 1 minus 15% times, we'll do the LP at 90, GP at 10. All right, so now we're going to copy and paste our formula from tier 2 down to tier 3, and we are going to alter just a couple things here. Really, all we have to do is alter what's going on here. So we need to pull all this stuff down from tier 2 down to tier 3. And we'll copy and paste that. And we can do the same thing with our promote this time. Copy and paste that, and we will scroll up and just pull the formula that was referencing tier 2 down to tier 3. Copy and paste that as well. Alright, so let's check that we hit our equity multiple. We'll copy again the formula for the equity multiple in tier 2. And actually, before we do that, let's just lock everything again. So I hit F2, and now I'm hitting F4. So F4, move over to F48. I'm up in the formula bar. So hit F4 again, F4 again, enter, Control C, Control V, and now what we want to do is we want to add the profit from tier 3 in the mix of this formula here. So we're going to go into the sum formula, we're going to add a comma, we're going to add that in, we're going to add the profit in, and you see we now have a 2.5x equity multiple for tier 3. Alright, for the LP, let's do the cash roll up. So they're getting 90% of the partnership cash flow in tier 3. Plus, we know we rolled up this cash flow before in tier 2. So plus the cash flow that we rolled up in tier 2. And we'll do the same thing for the GP. So the GP gets a piece of 10% of the partnership cash flow in tier 3. Plus the already rolled up cash flow in tier 2 plus the promote. Copy that down. Let's add up the profit, or add up all the cash flow. And let's see here. Alright, so we're going to lock in this time the limited partner cash flow and the GP cash flow. And let's copy. We'll paste this down. You can see our limited partner has a 2.5 equity multiple, and because of the promote in tier 3, our general partner now has a 4.38x equity multiple. Alright, now let's calculate the remaining cash flow by just subtracting out everything that already came out. Alright, and so we will copy this formula. And we see now that after tier 3, there's still $62.6 million remaining for tier 4 split, which is thereafter. Alright, so we simply split the remaining cash flow. Oh, actually we have to go and fill this in. So we have a thereafter promote structure. If we want our GP to get 30%. So the LP gets 70. And so we just do a simple split of the remaining cash flow. So equal the cash remaining for distribution at tier 3 times 70%, hit F4 for limited partner. In fact, hit F4 2 more times so we can just copy this down. Oh, I'm sorry. And then you want to hit F4 twice on cell H63 so that your formula looks like that. Control C, Alt HBO, and we're going to Control C, Alt HBO. That's the remaining split. All right, let's sum these up. All right, now we are at the bottom, so let's add up all the cash flow that came out of the total waterfall. So if you remember, we aggregated, we have Tier 1 and Tier 2 in this Tier 3 cash flow line. So it's Tier 3 plus Tier 4. All right, so those are the cash flows to both the LP and the GP. And now let's just add up the profit. And now let's do the equity multiple, the way we did it in Tier 1. So you have the sum of all cash flows plus, and this is the limited partners equity contribution, divided by, I see a question mark in there. And that should be divided by negative F7. And let's see what happened. I forgot a parenthesis. Let's add that in, and then let us copy and paste this down. And this should be correct. Let's go up and double check. Yep, so we have the GP's equity contribution within the formula now for the GP. All right, and so this is the total equity multiple for both the LP and the GP. So we'll see the LP is a 3.58x and GP is 8.55x. All right, now we can run the IRR formulas. All right, and then the last thing I like to do is I just want to check, because we just ran all of this partnership cash flow through the waterfall model. So I want to aggregate these numbers back up and then run a simple error check with the top line. So, and you see I didn't actually do all these numbers here. So let me just fill this in. So let's first do the error check since we're on this. It's a simple error check. I just want to know that if my profit from before we started the waterfall is equal to the profit after we got finished with the waterfall. And give me OK. If not, give me an error sign, or give me the word error. All right, and so we have the OK sign. So the error check, the waterfall model has passed the error check. All right, and so the last thing we want to do is we want to link our results up into this summary box. So we want to take the results from down below here and link them back up here. And I'm just going to pause the video and do it because you don't need to just watch me do that. So I'll do it real quick. All right, so we just link these cells into the cells at the bottom of the waterfall. And the last thing we want to do is link the project level returns, which we still need to fill out. So let's quickly, one last time, do the equity multiple formula. All right, and then the IRR formula. And let's copy them into the summary box. And that is everything. So let's get this last piece in, and that is the entire model. I believe we finished it. So thanks a lot for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it and you got some use out of this video. Stick around for future uploads. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.